This is the painting I've been working on recently, reworking it since I started it some time ago, but I'm now making corrections to it. I was asked some time ago, what inspires me? And this video is an attempt to answer that. So let's get at it. To arrive at that, the answer to that, I've done some thinking and some studying. And it involves, first of all, looking at this book. I paid $17 for it. As paper goes, it's not great. It would be an expensive journal, but as paper goes, it's just pretty ordinary paper. It doesn't take watercolor. I did some watercolor, this as a watercolor. And, you know, it's not meant for watercolor, and it doesn't stay open properly so it's hard to do anything of significance. But then it wasn't meant for significant work, as you'll see. The stated underlying principle of this book is, you may begin to see creative destruction everywhere, and you may begin to live more recklessly. Those two words are in conflict with each other as far as I can see. It's like saying positive negativism. But that's the underlying principle. The prompts are meant to curb your fears, release creative impulse, if you have a problem in that area. And I suppose it does, especially negative impulses. It employs words like unpredictable, as in no thought involved, ugly, badly drawn. I'll just show you some of the things that I had other people write in here too. I'll start at page, well, they wanted you to think of 4-letter words. Well, I know where that is meant to take you, but I thought of lots of really good 4-letter words. They wanted negative comments, so I'm really not into putting negative comments on paper to keep. In fact, not really at all. This was a suggestion to put a photograph of yourself here and deface it. That wasn't something I did, so I wanted to do, so I just put acrylic over it, and at a future time I will do something. Maybe I'll do a self-portrait there. Where are we going here with this? It was 39, so this was another one about randomness. So I tried that a little bit, but it's really not as interesting to me as a challenge of actually sketching something. Here's what they want you to do. They use words like carelessly and destructive. Bring this book in the shower with you. Well, my husband paid the $17, so I wasn't about to just trash this book that way. There are places in the world where paper is valuable, so I just didn't want to use it that way. That's not why I bought it, why I wanted it. I was curious about the process. Here they wanted you to do ugly drawings with degraded materials, so I just instead covered it up well with acrylic paint, and I'm doing just studies of things. And this is the question: compost this page and watch it deteriorate. I'm wondering about the purpose of that. There should be a balance between form and freedom, in my mind. Here they wanted me to cut out a piece of paper and make a cup to drink out of. Well, I have cups and I know how to do that anyway, so I just folded the paper and did something a little more challenging. Here I crumpled up a separate piece of scrap paper and did studies in shading. You were to chew on it. I came to this page and I thought about it long enough to realize this is the issue. Random is the new freedom, and discipline is ditched in favor of reckless creativity. So we're using concepts and phrases whose meanings have changed and values been attributed to these terms. So it was interesting, and I'm enjoying the challenge of reversing the negativity and turning it into something thoughtful or of interest, despite the scribbles and what I consider juvenile prompts. I was reading this book, State of the Arts. The author says, contemporary art often pursues repulsiveness with zestful glee. That was an interesting statement. It contributes to the thought of what I'm thinking here. So the general principle of this philosophy is random but deliberate acts of degeneration or deterioration. That's the goal. I don't know how you have random and deliberate in the same sentence, but you do, because they use it that way. On the other end of the scale, a $2 thrift store find is this book, Elements of Drawing, by John Ruskin, artist and philosopher. He writes in here, you must never therefore aim at freedom. It's not required of your drawing that it should be free, but that it should be right. In time, you will be able to do right easily, and then your work will be free in the best sense. But there is no merit in doing wrong easily. That's what he says. The exercises in this book are taking me in the direction of training for deliberate skills, developing the ability to see and execute masterly work. That's his goal. That's his underlying principle. So I figure that's a well-spent $2. I'm really enjoying this book. So here we have two distinctly opposite schools of thought. And that there are schools of thought, I'll just set this up here so I can talk to you. That there are schools of thought is evident by the existence of discernible trends. Traditions, periods of art, isms like expressionism and impressionism, and periods of art, fads even, you could say. Even the term contemporary art or modern art, which is getting outmoded, I feel. So there are schools of thought. That means there are leaders, teachers, learners, influencers, followers, and imitators. So much for originality. The artist Pollock carefully devised ways of achieving randomness, which is a contradiction of terms, with his dripping paint. He and the followers of that philosophy try to eradicate the human element, but that is where the spark of creativity resides. And so I get to my point of what inspires me. I propose that art emanates from the spirit, and art is an act of the human spirit, manipulating, altering the material world. So what comes out is an expression of what's inside. There's an old saying, beauty is as beauty does. Kind of applies here. So since my spirit has been regenerated by the Holy Spirit of God, that's what inspires me. My goal is to train my eyes and my hands so that when the Spirit of God in me is released, what emerges will reflect the true, creative, and holy nature of God. That's as well put as I can think to write it. So that's why I partly read it. Solomon said, whatsoever thy hand findeth, do it with thy might. Good words. Ruskin finishes his book with this, and I'll show you the quote. Habits of patient comparison and accurate judgment will make your art precious, as they will make your actions wise. And every increase of noble enthusiasm in your living spirit will be measured by the reflection of its light upon the works of your hands. I'm really enjoying this book, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.